Hello, welcome to the Pint podcast, where our powers pish, but our pints aren't. To introduce ourselves, I'm Caden, and I'm joined by my co-host Dino.
Hi ho. We're back for episode 7 now. And not quite pint 7, I've had a couple more than that, but here's to this episode. You can probably tell as well by the title that our main topic is conspiracies. Conspiracy theories, you know?
Yes,
You want to kick us off?
I shall. I'll start us off with a strong World War II conspiracy theory of the Reichstag fire. Something I learned about in high school, and it was something that was taught to us as like with factual information alongside subjective information. Like our teacher would be like, okay, so you know the facts, you've got the evidence, you see there, what do you believe happened? Do you believe it was actually communists that caused the Reichstag fire? Sort of things, and we came up with our own like ideas of what happens. But the Reichstag fire in a nutshell is the Reichstag is a parliament, the parliament of Germany. It's a parliamentary house, and it had been set aflame by an arsonist, and the blame was pinned on a Dutchman, of which evidence seems to show that he could not have done it without assistance, as the flames apparently were set off at multiple places at once, which would imply he had had to have help, which he apparently did have accomplices, like a few Bulgarians, but they were never subjected to being guilty or that. But the general consensus, especially most folk actually believe, because it's never been proven to be true or anything, but it's generally accepted that Hitler staged this. They got a Dutchman. They took him in. They pinned the blame on him to give the National Socialist Party more power, or as other people were calling them, Nazis. But to give them legislative power, which is in essence the power to write in and change stuff. Basically, a lot of power, which came to a large vote. I think 94 opposed, where else like I think 444 or something like that agreed to it, which got them a good lead. But the whole consent, as I was saying, the consensus of it is the only reason this happened was to further their agenda, was to help them. And there's no like actual proof that Hitler had anything to do with it, but it was fairly obvious.
Yeah, I remember learning about that one as well. And like even in the class, it was talked about how, like it could have been Hitler quite easily, influencing this.
Yeah. It would have been incredibly coincidental if it wasn't. It just so happened this event helped the National Socialists because they put. I keep saying National Socialists. That's what they wanted to be called, but they're Nazis.
It's just
they're just Nazis. We shouldn't give them that right. But they were pushing this act, this patent, which eventually gave them the legislative power to stop this sort of thing from happening again. I could say more about it, but honestly, I'm so rusty in like what I remember from high school about it. Like, I had to have a quick wee summary of it. But I always thought it was interesting. Like, it's a very subjective point of history. And I just remember in high school when we were learning about it for like a YouTube video, of all the bloody background music they decided to use, it was bloody Firestarter. That like metal song. It's metal, isn't it?
Yes, not quite. It was Firestarter by what, Prodigy, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, saying about that theory. Do you believe it's true?
I'm never one to like. I'm never one to like just state what's happened unless there's evidence. But it's fairly.
It's all there.
It's all there to show you that it could just be Hitler. It's just been orchestrated. But Yeah.
That's the thing about conspiracy theories. Some of them are so daft and crazy, like it's hard to
Mothman.
believe, you know. But some of them are a bit more likely.
Mm-hmm.
But it just depends, you know.
Aye.
But, yeah, the first one I'm gonna mention is just it's a couple actually, and it's the sort of deaths of like famous musicians,
Mm-hmm.
or the fake deaths. So it's say for example Elvis Presley is probably one of the first, and it's the idea that I think he died in 1977, and it was due to like overdose and like medication and stuff, and I think it was in his bathroom. It was either in his bathroom or something like that. I think there's a couple of stories, but either way, yeah, he passed away back then, and I think a lot of people just couldn't, because he was massive, so popular. So a lot of people couldn't
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't believe that he was dead, and so a lot of these conspiracy theories started floating about that he didn't die, and he faked his death for a couple of reasons, whether it's like mafia related, because he was quite a big gun nut um, back then. There's a couple other reasons, but that's one of the popular ones. People still believe that he's alive. There's Tupac as well. There's
Mm-hmm.
the because he got shot and killed in, I can't even mind, the 90s or something. I think it was like late 90s. Um, and him as well, I think. There's the theory that he never died from that gunshot,
Hmm.
and that he's still alive, nice and well, in Cuba. Just living his life in Cuba, nice and quiet. Um, I think that with the Tupac one, there's a bit more stuff involving like why he's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like quite a few albums have come out from him after his death, so people are questioning that. And then there was like apparently weak clues in some of his tracks or stuff like that, like the Illuminati, blah blah blah. But yeah, that's another one. That he was just living his life in Cuba, which would be quite crazy because I think he was wanting out of the whole like gang stuff, West Side versus East Side. He was heavily involved in that. I think Biggie Smalls as well was involved in some conspiracy theories. Another one being Jim Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he passed away in I think it was, can't remember what year, 70s. I think it was. And he's obviously part of the 27 Club. But the idea for him was that he um, he had died in Paris of an overdose, where he thought he was taking cocaine, but it was heroin,
Mm-hmm.
and he was found in his apartment, and blah blah blah. But there was no autopsy for his body, um, and I don't think there was any pictures of him or stuff like that. So some people were like questioning that, like what's up with that, and people were saying that nah, he's still alive. He didn't want to have anything to do with the fame, you know, so he just went under the radar and just living a different life now.
Yeah.
Um, last one I was going to mention is Michael Jackson, which he obviously died in 2009. I remember that. I remember that clear as day that day. And it was what was it? He died from cardiac arrest. Um, and there's the conspiracy theory that he faked his death because he wanted to get away from like the crippling debt that he had, for
Hmm.
for a number of things. But yeah, those names are probably the ones that I remember the most in terms of like fake deaths.
Hmm.
Oh, there's another one with Michael Jackson actually, but I'll talk about that later.
All right.
What's your next?
My next one is a very old, very famous one of including the topic of cryogenics, being that Walt Disney is frozen, and
Oh yeah,
not quite the movie Frozen, but actually like
he's not
cold as
quite
fuck.
Elsa.
He hasn't quite let it go. Yeah. But yeah, the whole thing with that is people were making these theories even in the 60s after he died, because he died like on December 15th and then had a funeral the day after, and then it was cremated on the 17th.
Mm-hmm.
And then people just started making up stuff like, oh, apparently he was always into like the future of tomorrow, so they made the whole idea that he froze himself so he could be there for the future of tomorrow and get himself like his disease or whatever was afflicting him cured. And his daughter's just proven this. Like, I don't even think my dad knew what cryogenics was before he died. That doesn't make sense. But there people are like saying, "Oh, well, there's bits in his studies and stuff he's done where he's mentioned cryogenics, he's mentioned this stuff, blah blah blah," and it's something that's just not true, and I don't think it'll
Yeah.
ever be true. Like what was it? He's specifically been frozen underneath the Pirates of the Caribbean ride place in Disneyland, and it's just mad.
Wow.
Because apparently he liked to invest in technology a lot, other than being an
Mm-hmm.
animator for Disney. And it just amazes me that the things that people want to reach for just because he was beloved. But yeah, like even back in the 60s, like if they had cryogenic like technology of that like extent back then, a lot more people would be frozen now. It's a weird thing to talk about. Like, of course, there's the aspect of it is like, well, maybe they kept it a secret because it's something that Walt Disney could afford himself. But at the same time, I'm sure that fucking certain people would be investigating that shit. I think he's just ashes somewhere.
Aye. Most likely.
Yeah,
It would be cool though.
it'd be terrifying. He just wakes up in 2017 and he's just like, because
Oh
he's got a thing
god.
about against Jewish people, so that's definitely not gonna sit well.
Yeah.
Disney, like,
It'd be
full
it'd
stop
be
back then,
ridiculous.
didn't have it was a very Christian or Catholic based organization.
Like you hear of like prisoners who've like obviously they went to prison like way early and they stayed in there for like 50 odd years or whatever.
Hmm.
So then when they come out, the outside world is just so different to when they went in.
That's true, but at least they'll have like news and like possibly newspapers, unless you're like in some decrepit
Yeah.
prison in Brazil
Mm-hmm.
or Cuba. Maybe Tupac's in that prison in Cuba. Who knows?
Who knows?
Writing new albums on his walls. Yourself, another one from yourself.
Um. So yeah, I was talking about the fake deaths there, and there's the other side to that, in that some people died, but their death was covered up, and there's this other guy who stepped into their shoes, and all that. So for example, the Michael Jackson one, which I was going to say, there's the theory that he died in, can't mind, it must have been the middle of the 80s or something like that.
Oh,
And he like he died in the middle of the 80s, and he got replaced by this random guy, just mostly because of like money reasons, and because he was at like the height of his fame and whatnot, it would have been a disaster if he had died back then.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the idea is just that he had died back then, and there's people like digging into that's why his skin color was like changing, not because of this disease that he had, but because he actually died and it was a fake person.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of things. Can't remember too much about that one, and I think I remember it was apparently the real Michael Jackson was buried. He's actually buried somewhere in Neverland, which is crazy. Like, yeah,
Just,
I might read into that one. I was like, what the fuck?
bro.
But yeah, the one I'm going to mention, the main one in terms of that is the Paul is dead theory. So yeah, like the the famous Beatle, Paul McCartney, right?
Mm-hmm.
During like their sort of their prime, their peak. There's the theory that Paul had died in 1966, and he was in a car accident. And because of where the Beatles were, similar to like the Michael Jackson thing, and that they didn't want to bring out this news and like have the Beatles go back down, go quiet or whatever. They want to keep them going, so they replaced Paul with a lookalike Scottish guy called William Shears Campbell, who also went by the name of Billy Shears, which is referenced in the Beatles songs. Now, this is quite a crazy theory because there's a lot of fucking like clues and stuff that fans have tried to pick out of the Beatles albums and the Beatles songs, such as like the song Revolution 9, Strawberry Fields Forever, Glass Onion, I Am the Walrus, and even with the covers for their albums, Abbey Road being the main one. People were trying to like piece together this thing, and apparently the Beatles were leaving clues, trying to tell the fans, this is what happened. I think it started like it's such a big theory that even Paul himself knows about it. He's talked about it on talk shows and stuff like that, and he made a live album in 1983 called Paul is Live. which is quite funny. But yeah, I think it started. I think it started from a DJ on the radio, and someone called in, and they were like, play that number 9, play that number 9 song, play the intro to that." And so the DJ was like, all right, sure. But it was to play it backwards. So when they played it on air backwards, you could hear the words "Turn me on, dead man," and then stuff from their songs like being played backwards as well. Like there was some crazy stuff. Strawberry Fields Forever. Towards the end of that, you can apparently hear John saying, "I buried Paul," and so like these fans are starting to like go off and they're like, what's all this about? What's all this about? And the song "I Am the Walrus." People are trying to say like, what is it? Walrus is Greek or Scandinavian for corpse. It's a great song, and I think it was the album after, on the White Album, they had the song "Glass Onion," and in that there was a reference to "I'm the Walrus," and John sings, was it? "Here's another clue for you all: the walrus was Paul." So over these songs and albums, people are starting to piece together all these things and be like, "Wow, is he dead? Is he really dead?" And a lot of people are just like, "This is complete nonsense. This is ridiculous." But the odd few people are really like getting invested And there's I think one of the most popular things surrounding that is the cover for Abbey Wall, for fuck's sake, Abbey Road. And it's meant to be, because it's the four of them walking across the road, right? And it's meant to be as a reference to a funeral, right? With John Lennon in white, representing like the preacher. Ringo Starr is in black, representing the Undertaker. George Harrison, he is in like blue denim, and representing like him being a gravedigger. And then Paul himself, he's in the cover. He is barefoot, and he is representing just the corpse, the dead man. And even in the cover, Paul holds a cigarette in his right hand, which, in case you didn't know, Paul was a left-handed person. He played left-handed, he wrote left-handed. So, why would he have it in his right hand? It's all piecing together now. It's just a ridiculous one, but it's a good bit of fun, I guess.
Yeah.
Like even the Beatles song Norwegian Wood. Some guy called into that radio station again, and they were like, "You know what 84% of all coffins in England are made of? Norwegian wood." It's just a ridiculous theory, but I love it. What's have you got one more?
I've got one more. It's my last one.
Mm-hmm.
It is the Yellowstone volcano, and it's a theory of its eruption is inevitable. It's going to happen, but only the government knows when. And there's not like too much on this, but it's interesting to think about because Yellowstone is an immensely dangerous volcano.
Oh yeah.
Even though as I say that, though some have studied and had said that even if it did go off today, it probably wouldn't have been as dangerous or like even remotely close to how it would be at its worst.
Yeah.
So like it'd be awful. It'd probably kill like a good chunk of wherever it's near. But
there's the film off it as well.
Yeah. But the expectation of what happens if this volcano goes off at the worst it could be is that it will destroy, utterly obliterate 2/3 of America, killing a good majority of people, and leaving such levels of smoke or soot or whatever the stuff that comes from the volcano up into the sky. It will completely block the sky, stopping, basically creating a nuclear winter.
Aye.
It'll fuck about anywhere. So basically, the entirety of America would be fucked. It would be irreversible damage for the longest time. But what people theorize is that the government knows when they know when this volcano will actually erupt, and they're not going to tell other people when it is, because they want 2/3 of America to die, because apparently it would be cheaper to have these 2/3 of America die than to actually have them evacuate. But there are problems in this, like the fact that natural scientists, people that don't work for the government, and people who generally are able to research magnitude levels, are going to be able to just ring alarm bells and be like, "Bros, this thing is about to erupt, and we know it." I'm pretty sure they know like days before it even happens, or even a week, due to how precise their research is with magnitude levels. So they could just go ding 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 ding, get the fuck out of here, ding 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 ding. Be hearing the bloody sirens from World War II in a matter of seconds the minute they see that, and they would evacuate. People would evacuate.
Yeah.
But I do think there would be like some sort of like whole situation where they don't know whether like this is true or not, and there'll be those stupid folks that are like, "Well, it's like flat Earth. I believe it's flat Earth, so I don't think there'll be an earthquake," and then they die. But yeah, that's the whole that's what the Yellowstone conspiracy is.
Yeah.
Fairly simple, fairly easily disproven, but I think it's interesting. I thought it was just interesting to mention because I think Yellowstone's a really
Ah.
really cool like natural phenomenon. It's a super volcano. It's really interesting. Much like how I think the mountain that's on Mars. I can't remember the name of it. It's Olympus. Is that Olympus?
It might be.
But there's a volcano on Mars that's like not volcano. It's a mountain on Mars, and it is massive. Actually massive. I can't remember what it's called. Olympus Mons, isn't it? It's Olympus
Yeah.
Mons. Yes. Yes, it's like a good chunk bigger than our biggest mountain. I'm pretty sure like you can see Olympus Mons from like its like orbit. It's that big. But I always think those sort of things are cool,
Pretty mad.
like big,
Yeah.
big fuck off things like super
The
volcanoes
sheer
and
size.
the sheer size. I also find how like we as a race have developed nuclear weapons that can, if like used, could destroy the entirety of the world's atmosphere and just general populace. That's the thing. We're capable of using that. It hasn't been used obviously because we're alive, but the fact that people have actually went out there and there's bombs somewhere in some country hidden away that can't do that, that will never be
Yeah.
used. I don't know why they've made them, but the sheer audacity. But like as I was saying, I just thought it was worth mentioning that because I always thought it was quite interesting to think about Yellowstone.
Mhm. Oh yeah, definitely. Um. Oh yeah, I've got one more. I've got the last one. And there's not too much to say about this one, I guess. I don't really have much, but it's the conspiracy theory about the Illuminati, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just the idea that they exist, right? They exist right now, and they're behind like a lot of media stuff, a lot of government acts, and all this, all this
Mm-hmm.
important stuff, and they're behind just this new world order. And like even people have joked about or said like certain celebrities are part of them, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like Jay-Z, for example. Um, there's been times where Jay-Z has been in a concert. He's doing a concert, and he puts like the triangle symbol up with his hands.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about the Illuminati is like a lot of people joke about it.
Yeah,
It's become a bit of a meme. Um,
it was like a big meme in
since
2014, wasn't it?
yeah, it was. I mean, even there's the film Angels and Demons.
You say film,
That
but recently we discovered it's a trilogy,
yeah,
and the
the
one we
trilogy.
watched was actually the second film.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't
First
know
one
how we
being
managed
Da
that.
Vinci Code, or
Yeah,
was it?
one
Yeah,
of them
Da
was
Vinci Code.
bloody fucking that, or they just all happen to have very close themes and or also have
Mm-hmm.
Tom Hanks. But no, it's apparently they're all connected.
Trilogy. Yeah.
It's really weird.
But yeah, just the idea of the Illuminati existing, secret organization, and I can't remember exactly, but I think they did exist way back when. Um,
Yeah.
but they like disbanded or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why it became public. But yeah, I think it started in like the 60s or something like that. This idea that they're still kicking about
Yeah.
doing
The
this and
me,
that.
something
And
like
they could be behind the JFK assassination.
yeah,
Every conspiracy theory
like
is
it's all
them
just
behind it.
Illuminati. Yeah.
It's all Illuminati.
I liked how
Everything. The all-seeing eye.
it has different like Illuminati has like different connotations from Marvel because the Illuminati in Marvel are run by like Professor X, Reed
Yeah.
Richards, who's Mr. Fantastic, and like who else was it? Like Black Panther and bloody what's his name? Not Leonard Nimoy. I was about to call him Leonard Nimoy. Oh, but it's
Leonard Nimoy.
like Marvel's it's like Marvel's Aquaman. I can't remember his name. Begins with an N or something.
I could not. I don't remember. But Marvel did have Hydra as well. That was a secret.
They're just
organization, I
Nazis.
guess. Pretty much.
They're not even secret anymore. They're just Nazis.
No, not anymore. Yeah. But,
Literally,
at
that's
that
why they
time.
used Hydra in the comics. Is because they were trying to like stop having
Mhm.
Nazis be affiliated in Marvel. Saying that, I can't remember if it's Marvel or DC that has it, but I'm pretty sure there's a Captain Nazi, and they're just weird.
Oh God.
Maybe it's
Nazi
DC.
punk, fuck off.
Yeah.
So yeah, that moves us on to our general talk, general chatter.
Mhm.
First one being favorite weapons.
Yes.
So that can be in real life or in fiction. Movies, games, TV shows, absolutely whatever.
Yeah, it could even be like a particular weapon somebody has. It doesn't have to be like of
Yeah.
a brand of weapon.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to start us off?
I will. I'll start us off with probably one of the most simple ones I've got on my list, and it is. I've always had a fixation with the Japanese sword, katana, and its
Yeah,
shape.
very iconic.
I've always loved its shape, its guard, its hilt. But I always notice that people call it, a lot of like ignorant people call it a samurai sword, and that just it triggers me.
I know.
It's not specifically a samurai sword.
No.
It's just a Japanese style sword. And my the sword I've got down, rather than just having katanas as an overall thing, the one I've got down is a named katana from a series called One Piece, and it is called Shusui. And I really like the design of this sword and how it's used and how it's described as being like this cursed sword that was used by a samurai centuries prior, a sword known for decapitating a dragon. It is a sword with its hilt, the thing you hold, is like black, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and it has like this like blue like a rope around it. So it's got further better gripping and all that. Looks cool. Its scabbard is completely black. It's got these like petals, like these 4 or 3 petal symbols going down it. So it looks like cherry blossom tree symbols. It's nice color pattern. The hilt, not the hilt, the guard is shaped like a flower almost. It's like got a lot of like grooves. It's like nicely shaped. It's got these 2 little semicircle holes on each side, and it's all nice and looking. And I think the most unique part of it is the blade itself. From top to bottom is completely black. It's a very black sword, unlike any other katana you really see in fiction. And it's a wee sheen it has on it, a wee glow that most swords in the series also have. Like some swords along the greyed out area will have like maybe a blue or a slightly purple like sheen. This one's just a completely black blade, and its sheen is red, and it just looks really cool. It looks like a sword destined to be wielded by a demon. I think that's why it really comes out as a point of interest for me,
Mm-hmm.
especially as a katana. It's probably my favorite katana in any media. But that's it's fairly simple, and I'll lead you on to your first one.
My first one is also a sword, but it comes from Halo, the fantastic Xbox series, or just Microsoft series, really. But it's the energy sword. I can't remember what the first game it was in. It might have been in just the actual first Halo, but definitely in 2 and 3. But I feel like if you were to think about Halo, and the weapons that they've got, it's tied to it. It's one of the most iconic things that Halo has.
Yeah.
As well as just obviously Master Chief and whatnot. There's a lot of popular stuff with that. But the energy sword, there's just something about the design. The way it's designed is so like so cool. And using it in game as well is satisfying.
Is it not a one-hit kill?
Yeah, it is. Like both in multiplayer and the campaign, one hit kill, I think. Cause, I used to play Halo Reach a lot. I played the other ones a lot as well, but Halo Reach in particular. And they had the infected game mode.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you were infected, you had the energy sword.
Ah, yeah, I remember that.
So it made it fun being infected as well. You get some game modes that are some infected game modes where it's just not fun being the one who is infected.
Yeah.
For example, some COD infected game modes were a bit but it depends.
I know what you mean.
Aye, but using that sword in Halo, mwah.
I suppose that leads on to another one of mine, being specifically the Red Lantern Corps Red Lantern ring. I could have generally put Lantern Corps rings, so like all the color spectrum rings, because they're all like individually.
There's a few in
it. Yeah, I think there's like 7. No, there's 9 or 8 of them. 2 of which don't actually belong to an actual core, being the white and black rings. But like each individual core and ring has like their own like special like side ability alongside making constructs like energy constructs. So like the green lantern ring is like the most basic. You can make energy constructs based off your willpower, and that's it. Like your willpower powers that. You've got yellow lanterns, which are pretty much the same, except from they can see the fears of others and feed off fear, whether their fear or them producing fear from others powers their ring is dependent on the user. Blue Lantern Corps, they're pretty much the same as well, but they have the abilities to sort of cure folk and heal them in some ways, which leads on to how they can help Red Lantern users. I'll talk about that in a minute. Their other abilities that when in proximity with a Green Lantern user, they can power them up by a good percentile. I think it's like maybe double the power, but they're really good supports. You've got the Violet Lanterns, which I can't mind what their power is, but I think it's a very parasitic ring. You've got the Compassion, so it's the Indigo Lanterns, which their ring, or in this case staff, they don't have a ring, is able to use any given Lantern Corps constructs or powers. Then you have the Orange Corps, which there's only one Orange Lantern, hence like it's based off avarice, greed, so there can only be one. And whatever person that he kills or the user kills, they're able to make an energy construct that's sentient of that thing they've killed. So if they kill like a person, he can make an energy, or the user can make an energy construct of that person, and they're sentient to an extent. There's the black lanterns, which literally are lanterns that are dead. Any given corpse that has a black lantern ring on them will come back to life as a corpse, like a zombie. And William Hand, I think his name is the only living one, or was living. And I can't mind what his abilities were. I think he just generally just got like super strength and that, and he could fly and stuff. I don't know if he could do like constructs or that. Can't remember, but he's one of my like favorite villains as well. But White Lantern rings are one of the most like powerful entities in DC, as the user is given omnipotence. So like they can like restructure reality if they wanted to, but it depends on the user's will, and basically every other of the ring's abilities. Once you master every ring, you can become a White Lantern. So if you have compassion, rage, and all that, which has been explored, but Kyle Rayner's the White Lantern for that. But on to my favorite ring. I've talked through them all, but my favorite ring being the Red Lantern ring. and it's because of how dangerous it is. It's not a ring I'd personally want, but I think it's the coolest because when a user is deemed to have enough rage and hatred in them, and they get the ring put on them, their core and their body is their heart, and if you were to take the ring off, they would no longer have a heart. So they must always wear this ring, otherwise they die. And their abilities, apart from just unless you gain sentience after putting the ring, because when you put on the Red Lantern ring, you go insane from rage. You can't really think unless you go into the planets from where the rings came from's lake, which has special properties. But you can't really have constructs until you get your sentience back. Your calmness, and they can also spew blood on you. That's like acid. That's another weird side ability. But as I was saying earlier, blue lanterns can cure these said red lanterns. But yeah, I think the red lanterns are just cool. I really like the red and black suits they get. I think it's genuinely cool that all characters they're looked at as like villainous, but really they're just people who want justice. It's the whole point of rage. For God's sake, one of the rings went to a cat, and it's called Dextar. Yeah, a cat from Earth got a Red Lantern ring because its owner was killed by like criminals, so it was like deemed worthy of a Red Lantern ring, and its original name was Dexter, but it was changed to Dexstar because like space. But I really like all the rings, but my favorite are the Red Lantern ring as a weapon.
Yeah, quite cool.
Yeah.
The next one I'm going to mention is from Hitman, actually, the game series. And it's Agent 47's iconic pistol, which is known as Silver Baller. It's also known as like Hard Baller or even just the Baller, right? And Hitman was a series that I loved playing. Hitman Blood Money, Hitman Contracts. There's a couple of those. Even some of the newer ones I still really enjoy. But it's been prominent throughout all of them, and it's his main signature weapon, And it's I think it's a 1911 pistol. I think it's a silver 1911 pistol, and it's got this silencer on the front. Yeah, there's not too much to say about that one apart from it's just so it's the main one he uses. You can also dual wield it in the game at some points, but yeah, just very very iconic in the series, as well as like the wire that he uses.
Oh my god, yeah.
I think those two are probably the most well known out of the series.
Yeah.
But yeah, catting about in the game, doing it all stealthy, planning your mission using that pistol. It's very satisfying. I think a lot of these weapons that I'll mention are just there's something satisfying about them. Something so satisfying.
So satisfying now.
What you got?
I've got just a basic one. It's staffs. Like any character that uses a staff, the weapon staff, like a bow staff. It's interesting, like seeing them just like with their agility, just bloody just go about hitting folk with the bottom or top of their staff, and it's a good defensive weapon. But notably, I really like characters that use it, and they tend to be really likable characters like Donatello from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah.
And the things he uses it with, he uses it smartly and defensively, and I really like seeing him just like thonk somebody in the head. There you've got like Aang, the Last Airbender from Avatar: The Last Airbender. His staff he can use as a fan as well, and a glider. It can turn into a glider because he can power it using his airbending and all that sort of stuff. And generally, he'll use it to block people from hitting him and stuff, and he can bonk people as well. You've got the third Robin. I think it's the third Robin, but Tim Drake he uses a pole arm, a wee staff. his iconic weapon. Then you've got like original Goku from Dragon Ball, like before this whole Super Saiyan nonsense and Saiyan nonsense. When he was a child, he
Before
had
going into all that.
when he was a child, he was known for having a pole arm, known as the power pole, and it's seeing as he was based off Sun Wukong, the Chinese legend, the mythic of being a monkey king who can ride in clouds and has a pole arm that can extend. So Goku's pole can also extend. It's a pole arm that can extend to very long lengths, and it's just generally a really useful and cool weapon, which is why I like staffs and a lot of things, and I would want to see more staff users just bonk people and just like block hits.
Bonk.
That's my wee thing for staffs.
Aye. I'm also going to mention the famous weapon used by Negan, right, from The Walking Dead, and it's in both the show and the comic.
Yeah.
Lucille, as it's known.
Sweet
I think
baby.
it's introduced to us right from the get go, as well as Negan. Like they go hand in hand.
Yes.
Now, a bit of spoilers for people who haven't seen
Please
or
tune
read.
out. Please tune out
Please,
right now.
I
if you're
won't.
not...
I won't go into details for spoilers, but
Yeah.
just a bit. But yeah, from when Negan was introduced to us, he lined quite a lot of people up. He lined the gang up, and he was like, "You've been doing some bad, whatnot." He had a spiel, and then he said, essentially, as punishment, I'm gonna kill one of you, right? And he does his whole line, the eeny meeny miny mo, right? And then absolutely smashes one of their heads, and like fully just it's quite brutal. Both the comic, even like seeing some of the pages.
Yeah.
It's like, whew.
Brutal.
But I forgot I forgot to say Lucille. The thing about Lucille is a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire.
Yes.
Which is also what makes it more gruesome.
Yes.
This is
like,
his weapon.
It's already caked in like previous blood. It is stained.
Yeah, covered in blood.
At least I think it is.
I think there will be, unless he cleans it.
Takes
And
care,
whatnot.
Lucille.
Lucille. But yeah, Lucille's a great weapon. And there's an interesting backstory to it as well. Which they came out with the
backstory of Negan.
Yeah, it's like a
I don't know if the show's even covered that yet, because I haven't watched it since like
so, but
maybe a few episodes, season 8.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like
they might have done, but I'm a bit behind, so
yeah.
Either way, they came out with this side comic where it delves into the backstory of Negan and how he came about at the start of the breakout, and it's the reason it's called Lucille is because before, or just roughly about the time of the infection spreading and whatnot, he had a wife called Lucille, who I can't fully remember. I think she was slightly ill anyway.
I think she had cancer because she was balding.
Yeah, that's right. And she was in hospital. And obviously, being his wife, he's quite emotional with the whole thing and going there every day and whatnot. And then one of the days he goes there, like right at the start of it, he finds her dead, but actually undead.
Oh yeah.
So it's quite the introduction, and then he goes on his path of like wandering about, trying to survive, and on his journey he finds a baseball bat. He finds some barbed wire. He wraps it around, and there's him. That's the birth of Lucille.
Yeah.
It's a very good read, wasn't it?
It was.
I think they finished that whole thing
I finished that about
But
like
yeah,
2 or 3 years ago now, I think.
aye,
Time flies.
time does fly. Jeez, oh. But aye, Lucille. That's
Yes. Really iconic
definitely
now.
definitely one of mine.
My next one is pretty much like the cheat code of all weapons in terms of like abilities and that. And it's the Omnitrix from Ben 10. And it's
Ah,
a really interesting one because the aspect of it you are introduced to in the show is a watch that it's not a watch, but Ben calls it a watch. And it's a device, a tool, a weapon that he uses, but it has a limit. It only has 10 aliens that he can transform into within a certain time limit that he reverts back into his human form. And the deal is these aliens he turns into have peak performance DNA. So like any given alien from a species will be like the alpha male of that species. They'll be the peak performance of genetics. So like one of them has the ability to be fire. They're like a molten man. They can spew fire. One's literally a ghost. One's super fast. So they all got useful abilities. But it just turns out Ben didn't know how to use the device properly, and it's just genuinely a broken thing. So like theoretically, if Ben were to meet like Superman and he knew how to use the Omnitrix properly, he could scan Superman, right? And
mm-hmm.
become Superman and be just as strong as him. Because Superman's potential as a Kryptonian is unlocked, and scanning Superman would lead him to be able to transform into that, is what I believe. So theoretically, Ben could become like Superman. However, there are stronger forms. Like he has an alien that's scanned into the device that can literally turn him into a god. There's a god species known as I can't even mind, but he calls it Alien X because it's just super broken. But the whole dealio with that is the inner conflict he has arguing with these two personalities, and he's got to like convince them to let him use the power. But I think the Omnitrix is really cool because it's a device you have to be careful with. You've got a limited choice. You've got a limited time frame, of course,
Mm-hmm.
until he like unlocks more aliens and he basically learns how
Yeah,
to use it. But I just
so
thought it was always
progressive.
interesting. There's like different devices for it. There's the Ultra Matrix, which is a device which takes said alien and evolves it into an even stronger being, and I always thought that was cool. And I just think the Omnitrix is probably, if I were to have any weapon on this list, it'd probably be that because
Mm.
it's really cool. It looks really cool.
Mm. Well, I have another one in my list, which is it's so symbolic of the Call of Duty zombies,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the one and only ray gun.
Yes.
I think it was the very first wonder weapon we were introduced to, wasn't it?
Yes, because that was
I don't.
Knacked.
Yeah, it was Nax, the very first map, and
And
you
and
had the
then
wonder weapon, the fucking mystery box.
yes,
Um,
I don't know
so
if
you
you can
could
get
get
monkey bombs in Knacked.
no, no, I don't think so. Although it might have been in the remix,
It
like
would have
the
been the
Black
remake.
Ops one.
Well, the remakes you can get the Thunder Gun.
Ah, yeah. But if we're talking OG, it's ray gun. The thing about that as well, it's I think in World at War, it was the best gun, right? One of the best
Mm-hmm.
guns. Although obviously, a lot of people would go for like LMGs and whatnot. But
Yeah.
the ray gun was so like talked about, and it was like, oh, that's what you want. That's what you
It
want in the
didn't
box.
even. It got like popular in the campaign as well because it was in the
Yeah, there was an
campaign.
Easter egg for it. There was an Easter egg for it. It was on the beach. You had to do some sort of throwing nades and here and there, and then
Yeah,
it would pop up,
it's like the starting point for Call of Duty Easter eggs.
which was cool as hell. Um, yeah, it really was actually. But yeah, it's just the ray gun, and over the course of the entire series, like with each game, I think the ray gun itself has gotten worse. It's gotten not worse, but just less powerful. There's alternatives that you would rather, and with each map they would put out tons of different wonder weapons.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got the thunder gun, you've
was
got
the
the wonder waff.
It was the staple.
It was the staple.
It was in every map.
Even in which one was it introduced the ray gun Mark II? It was buried, wasn't it?
Buried, and then there was an update that let it get added to every other map in Black Ops 2. And then the ray gun was probably at its most powerful in Black Ops 1 with any map that had PhD.
Oh my god, yeah. Because it had splash damage.
Yeah.
So if you shot too close to yourself, it would just... You'd go down pretty much if you weren't careful.
Yep.
So partnering that with a PhD, it was class. But yeah, I think there's other ones that I would prefer to have if I was playing a certain map. I wouldn't be looking for the ray gun. But
yeah,
again, you can't not mention it. It's such. It's just so.
Yeah, iconic one.
It's, the design of it as well is super cool.
Very alien-like.
And yeah, that's all I've got to say about the ray gun.
Well, my other ones is the Tommy gun or the Thompson M1A1 or just the Thompson M1. And I can't remember which thing introduced me to the gun in the first place, but it's like the weapon that would normally have like a drum on it. It had like the drum rounds, and it would be like what mobsters would use back in the 60s and before 60s and that. But I really like the aesthetic of it, and
oh yeah.
As I was saying, I can't remember which series introduced it to me, whether it was like World at War or Batman the animated series, because I can't remember which one was first for me seeing it, but they were both very impactful for me and me liking it. With Batman the animated series, in the intro to that show, has these two thugs shooting the Tommy gun. It's a very specific sound, has a very specific shape, shooting at Batman, and it's always a gun they used in that show, and it was just very pleasing to see somebody just shoot it or hold it. It's a gun that if I were to ever get a replica of, it'd probably be that. However, in Call of Duty World at War, there was the Thompson, and that one didn't have the drum, it just had the standard mag, and you could use it in multiplayer, or it was my favourite weapon to use in any of the zombies maps that I was in, like Deriz. It was my go-to weapon, and it's in my go-to train spot for it. And it was just, I think it's the best weapon for me. Just anything.
Yeah, it is a very good weapon.
As of recently seeing it in the media, in JoJo, there's Joseph Joestar, who uses it in part 2. He just randomly grabs it out. I don't know where he got it from, but he was in a cafe. He grabs it out because there's a vampire about to attack him, and he just starts shooting it. Just unleashes hell on this man. And it just goes to show how many rounds you can fit into the drum gun, because that's the point of it. It was a drum gun.
The sound of it as well was great.
Yeah.
And the the famous quote from Home Alone, where it's he's watching the show.
God.
Yeah, he's watching the show, and it's like, all right, I believe you, but my Tommy gun don't.
My God.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about Tommy guns. We got another one for us.
Alright. I do, and I am going to say the Cult, which is from Supernatural. And I was also thinking about picking between that or Dean's pistol, his signature. I think it's also a 1911, but his pistol has it's got like a white marble like grip handle on it, and it's got like rose engravings and all that across it. that looks really cool. But I think I've got to give it to the cult, because it's got more of a backstory as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with the cult is it was made back in like I can't mind what year, 18 something, like 1830s or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a revolver which was made by a guy called Samuel Colt, who was also a hunter. And the reason for this Colt is it was made purposefully so that it can kill anything,
Yeah.
like any being. Where like a lot of like demons are like higher, in terms of celestials and whatnot. Stuff that like regular weapons couldn't kill them. It was this tale that the cult could kill anything apart from, I think it was 5 beings. So Lucifer being one. I think Death was another one. God, and I can't mind who else would have been in that list. But it's a small list of ones that it couldn't kill. But the thing about it was that when he made the gun, he put engravings both into the gun and 13 bullets. So he only made 13 bullets. So it wasn't a case of like, oh, you could just shoot it willy nilly, blah blah blah. You were very very limited on how many bullets you had, so you did not want to miss.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's both the gun and the bullets had engravings all over it in terms of like Latin and what was it called? Like just not anti-possession, but like symbols and stuff like that, just to give it this power. And yeah, it was brought. I think, what season was it first mentioned? Must have been like season.
I can't mind.
Literally from get-go, season 1, wasn't it?
Possibly. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been. Because I
Aye,
remember the
because
introductory
the
episode
finale.
with because it had vampires and they like entered the guy's home and I think they either stole the colt or 17 got there because they're still looking for their dad.
Aye. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
But I think I had to mention that.
Yeah.
So not only is it like it looks really good, but it's very powerful, and it's just
Yeah, it just looks really good as well.
ah.
Like, I was very tempted to put like a general weapon being like a snubbed revolver.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I've always been wanted to like write a character that uses a snubbed revolver. He's like really good at using it. But
It's funny because
what?
speaking like generally, I think I've just got a thing for like revolvers
Yeah,
and deagles and pistols.
for me it's
You
just
know.
revolvers. But my like my most liked one is the snubbed one. It's just something about the short barrel.
Yeah.
My last one
Hit me with another one.
is
Oh, last one.
the last one is very simple, very simple. Quite not lore heavy, but there's not much to it. It's just really cool, and it's annoying because I was speaking to a certain someone the other day, and I mentioned favorite weapons, what weapons could be their favorites, and inadvertently, before we stopped talking about it, his very last one that he mentioned was this one. And I had to keep the straight face and not mention anything of this, so this could be a surprise to him for when he listens to this. And it is the Berserk character's guts weapon, Dragon Slayer, and it is a massive sword. It doesn't really look like a sword either. It's like it's got a hilt, no guard, and like 3 feet like outwards on each side, and then up the way until it starts closing in is basically the shape of its blade. It's just massive. Basically, it's a big 6 foot blade, basically as tall as the character gets. And you're like, no no mortal man could carry that in our world with 2 hands, and this motherfucker Guts is got the balls to just hold it up with 1 hand. He's a normal human being that's just from a young age basically carried swords that are bigger than him, and he's just gotten so accustomed to it that when he reached the age and had the sword forged for him, and he named it Dragon Slayer. Even though there's no dragons in this series, as far as I know, he named it Dragon
Mm-hmm.
Slayer, even though he slays demons. So I'm like, okay, great naming skills there, Guts. We know you're definitely the brawn, not the brain. But the lore behind it is that you just needed a weapon that wouldn't break, and he just swings it about. Just a massive, like, mad lad, basically. And I really like the look of it. And it really goes along with his armor that he gets later on. And that's pretty much it. It's just a really badass weapon.
Well, I'll round off the topic by naming my last one. And I was sat there thinking of different Borderlands guns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, Borderlands is it's known for the fact that they've got tons of guns, and like we're talking about like millions of different combinations of like what you could get stat wise and whatnot, you know. But generally, there's different brands in the game, different companies. So obviously, you've got your Jacobs, your Hyperion, all these, and in the game, there's a rarity system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these ones can be like white, blue, green, you know. They'll have those for like tons of different combinations, but you get the legendary, um, rarity,
Mm-hmm.
and the legendary guns all have like specific names. So obviously you can get different variants of that legendary. So in the game, you know, a lot of people would go and farm so that they could get certain versions of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, every single legendary has a unique thing about it as well. So I was sitting there thinking, like, what one should I mention? Because Borderlands has a lot of really, really good legendaries, you know? And I was sitting there thinking, like, you've got the Hornet. That's one that I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
The Infinity Pistol. And obviously, like, the thing about the Infinity Pistol, it is, as it says, it's infinity, so it doesn't run out of bullets. You can just constantly keep firing, don't need to reload. That's its trait, you know. You've got tons, you know, Sledge's shotgun, TK's wave, in Borderlands 3, you know, you get the yellow cake launcher, which is, my god, powerful. The lob shotgun, quite new one, the OPQ system. You know, your snipers, the Krakatoa, the Lyuda. There's some really, really good ones in the game, and a lot of them are really powerful, really satisfying. But I think, out of all of them, I think my favourite's got to be the Maggie. And it's funny saying that, as, you know, I've got this thing for pistols, right? I've got this thing for revolvers and whatnot. And it's a revolver. And it's got like this sort of pinkish camo on it. And it's a Jacobs weapon. And the thing about Jacobs weapons are that you can fire them as fast as you can pull the trigger.
Yeah.
But not just that. Every crit hit you land, it will deal one ricochet bullet.
Mm-hmm.
So if you obviously you land that, it'll go off to another enemy and deal damage. but the trait about the Maggie, what makes it unique and such a powerful legendary gun, is that it doesn't just ricochet the once. I think it ricochets like 6 times.
Damn.
Yeah. So it ricochets so many times per bullet. And I can't mind if that's for crit hits or if it's just any shot. I think it is literally just any shot, it'll always ricochet.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure, but it's a gun that was in Borderlands 2. Can't remember about pre-sequel, probably not. But yeah, Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3 it was in. And it's just fantastic. It's very powerful. Well, I think it is one of the top guns to get in Borderlands 3, unless it's been nerfed by now, but still such a gun. Such a good gun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that moves us on to our next topic. Being hated and or most disliked characters. And I'll start us off with probably the most controversial one here, because normally disliked characters and hate characters are normally unanimous. But mine is Han Solo. I really, really don't like him.
He's quite a liked character too.
He is very much liked, and I don't understand it. He's just a dick. Like, he probably has his redeeming qualities, but I wouldn't say he's a bad guy. I like him more in Force Awakens, which makes it bad with what happens to him. But as a character, when I was watching old films, I just couldn't enjoy him. I always thought he was a dick. Didn't like his personality. Didn't like anything about him. I didn't like his his chemistry with Chewie either. Just nothing about him was likable for me. I just found him annoying whenever he was on screen. I think the best version of him, which is going to insult even more people, is when Peter Griffin played him. It shocked Dino so much that he's not saying a word.
Wow, Peter Griffin. Wow.
Yeah. Funny enough, that is probably like the definite version of Star Wars I'll watch.
Even
what?
Like any version, oh not any version, but like both the new trilogy and the old trilogy, just not a fan.
Not a fan, like the new trilogy and the old trilogy.
Like both Han Solos.
Like I don't mind
the old and the young.
I don't mind the old Han Solo. That's what I'm saying. I actually kind of liked his chemistry with like Rey, the whole mentor thing, and like how he was like he's a grumpy old man. Like, he always felt like a grumpy old man, and it made sense when he's an old man. But he just felt like a dick in the original trilogy. Or just a bandit that just got dragged into this bit.
Well, I'm gonna open another tin, and I'm gonna mention my first hated / disliked character. Although I'm including 2 of them together, or even the whole family, and it's the McPoyles. It's the damn McPoyles from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And to be honest, I think in the show, I don't think they're designed to be liked. You know, they're not made for the show to be liked.
Yeah.
They're purposely part of it to be disliked, and even the main cast, they're all like, "God damn McPoyles." But there's the main 2 brothers, and the thing about the McPoyles is they're all incest, right?
They're all incestuous. It's like a tradition. Do not breed
family tradition
outside the bloodline.
Ah, Jesus. So because of that, in the show, they look horrible.
Unibrows and shit like that.
Unibrows, just awful, like greasy
Acne.
hair, acne. Just they look bleh. They don't look pleasant to watch on screen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, I guess that comes down to a bit of good writing. You know, they're placed there to be like that.
Yeah.
But I don't enjoy them. I like. Although I think the best episode with the McPoyles is the
Court.
The
The court one with
Yes, the court one.
that's
That's it.
my favorite episode of Always Sunny. Like that's the thing. Like my favorite and least favorite episode of Always Sunny includes both the McCoyles.
Mhm.
The other one being the being framed or being blamed for what's her name's death. The one that was gonna
Oh
marry
yeah, the one that turned into a fucking cat.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake,
I,
that
I,
show's so ridiculous.
I have like a love hate relationship with the McCoyles. I think at best they're some of the funniest. Like the brothers are like some
Yeah.
of the funniest moments in the series. Like when one of them's like, somebody's gonna get stabbed with a fork. Somebody's gonna get stabbed with a fork, and then you see the other
And then
brother pick up the
he
fork,
stabs.
and he ends up just stabbing his brother, and he looks back at him. He goes, "Oh," and he just screams. Or
Yeah.
when the one of the brothers about to fall off the building, he's like hang on to the thing by hanging on onto like his brother's
It
arm.
makes it feel like he's going to die if he falls.
Yeah, and then just Frank comes out of nowhere with a plank of wood and knocks him down. And then the
Like,
guy
"No, you
lands. The guy lands, and he went, "Oh, that's not too bad. I think I might have a little bit of bruising later, but it's not too bad, guys. I think it was pretty fun."
It was like a 3 foot, 4 foot drop or something small like that.
Fucking free. It was like a 9 foot drop, I think it was. Maybe a 10 foot drop. So it's like not dangerous, but it's like
Not dangerous. Is the main point.
yeah.
They had this weird lust for milk.
Yeah, they really like
That
their
was always
milk.
their thing.
It's like,
The rest of the characters were all for drinking.
Yeah.
They were all for drinking beers and all that.
Oh my god.
Milk.
When they were at the wedding and they had like the big punch bowl, but it's just milk. And you're like, oh, that must be warm.
Instead of punch. Fuck's sake. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my first. That's the first I'm including.
Aye, my second one is Andrea from The Walking Dead. The show. To make sure that everybody understands the show.
Aye, don't get me started.
One of the biggest betrayals of a character writing in history, being Andrea from The Walking Dead show, is that in the comic, she's a fan favourite. I personally think she was a contender for my favourite. Especially full stop favourite, like female character alongside Michonne. And by God, she was so badass, she had so many scars, she was a sniper, she was a good hunter. And then in the show, she's a whiny fucking little shitty brat who falls for bloody governor and just is eventually, spoiler warning, but I don't give a shit, she's killed off because the character writers knew they fucked up, so they had to fucking find a way out of this. They scapegoat her by fucking killing her. I don't think a single person watching that actually felt bad for her.
Nope. They tried to make it all like emotional and oh no, she's going. No one cared. No one was. No one was bothered of her death. Rejoiced in her death, if anything.
Pretty much, Michonne replaced her character type for in the show. Actually, in fact, pretty much to the T, because Rick and her are now in a relationship in the show, aren't they? Michonne and
yeah.
Because that's how Andrea and Rick were in the comics. Like, even literally scene for scene from the panel from the comic, the sniper tower scene during the Negan arc, where she's up in the tower and one of Negan's men comes to fight her, and one of them falls off and we don't know who fell off, and one of them's injured. Literally, instead of Andrea in the comics, they just replaced it and made it identical scene in the show, but with Michonne. It's just... I just think, and then they changed Michonne's character to not be like Michonne from the comics, and then they gave that to another bird, the one that was in the coffin in the Negan arc.
Yeah.
But Andrea is probably my most hated on this fucking list.
I think I've also got from The Walking Dead. I've got another character from The Walking Dead, and I think this is both applicable to the show and the comic. And it's Gregory.
Goddamn
Gregory.
I had to look him up earlier. he was
Yeah,
that
because
much of a forgettable character that when I remembered him, I just instantly want to forget him again.
because in the story, I think they find upon, is it the, do they find
Hilltop.
the hilltop? Yeah,
Hillside. I think they do find it. I'm not too sure. No,
or
no.
is it the other way? They find
Alexandria. I
them
think
and then they bring them
Alexandria
back
had
up.
ties. I'm pretty sure,
Yeah,
or something like that. But aye, they had spears
but
instead of weapons.
yeah,
I
it was
remember that.
this. It was this hilltop where Gregory was. I think
Just a leader.
just the leader. Yeah, there was a name for him. I can't mind what he was.
Probably not mayor. I don't think he was the mayor, was he?
Was it the mayor?
Not sure.
Let me search it up. Right, let me search it up. He was. I think it's just leader. I think it's all it said.
He should be nothing
But
less.
aye. But by that point in the story, it was like, the Negan was like running the area, like not just that area, but he was running like multiple areas, and so he was keeping connections with the leaders, and Gregory's this like very vain and self-absorbed cunt who just sort of almost whimpers to Negan and his demands.
Yeah,
Just easily does that, and I think he was quite a drinker. He had
I think so.
his own
He was definitely
stash
better
and
off than a lot of the other people because he stayed in the big man. Is it a mansion or just a house?
yeah.
Nice house.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, his decisions and all that, the way he acted to people was just just shitty, you know.
I think he was there just to further Maggie's character and to make her more likable.
It really was,
Just to
because
she comes in and bitch slaps him.
that was about the point where Maggie started to be just started taking
character.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she did eventually become the leader of the hilltop.
She had a specific
And
name.
not even just because of like just taking over, but because people who lived there also disliked Gregory a lot, and they were like, "Yeah, we're siding with Maggie here."
Yeah.
But yeah, Gregory's my pick from Walking Dead. I also disliked Andrea, but I think Gregory takes the biscuit for me.
Yeah, I think the difference for me with Gregory and like Andrea is like they're both fucking hateable, but at least Gregory didn't take up a fucking whole like 3 seasons being useless.
Yeah, true.
My next one's purposely meant to just be a bitch,
Mm-hmm.
a wee toddler cunt. A weird way to be talking about like a 4-year-old or however old she is, but Angelica from Rugrats. It's
Yeah.
like the Klutsky Chupo, I think the name of the studio was, created the show with the intention of obviously about children, it's about Rugrats, literal babies. And they added this character in, and I think from what I remember, very loosely from what I remember, I should have maybe like
It was a while ago.
searched this, but I think that Angelica was supposed to be based on somebody who had worked on the show in some way. But yeah, they purposely made her the most unlikable, like whiny, manipulative character in that show. You just hate her, spoiled. It's just a simple child. You just don't like her.
Mm-hmm.
All it is. And her bloody doll, her ugly ass doll. Like, I think the only instance I actually even enjoyed her being a character in anything was the bloody, the Wild Thornberrys crossover. In
Oh
which,
yeah.
she convinces the teenage daughter to take her to her family in their RV. And just out of nowhere, they start singing this song. And they just start fucking giving it beans. And it's just really funny to me. But Angelica is just unlikable.
I get that. Yeah, I think that's. I think a lot of people tend to dislike Angelica.
I want to see an Angelica fucking sympathizer in this fucking podcast right now debating me.
Playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
But I am gonna mention Skylar White.
Yep.
I think Skylar's also one where pretty much everyone hated her
Yep.
when they watched Walking Dead. Not Walking Dead, fucking hell. Breaking Bad.
Same producer.
Yeah. But just the way she was written, I think it was intentional. It was made
Yeah.
out to be this way. But, oh my god, I disliked all the scenes she was in, and she's such a bitch as well. Like the whole, what is it? I fucked Ted thing.
Yeah.
That was just...
Yeah, just fucking...
Bruh. That was a bruh moment.
It was. I remember mentioning this last week about how there's some people, like, now that are starting to dislike Walter because of the whole, like, toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Those very same people, I think, are Skylar sympathizers. And believe that she was right in every instance in the show. And we're happy that she said the whole Ted thing. I'm just like, can we just agree they're both just fucked?
What?
It's just that Walter was the more interesting character because he had a more interesting background. Skylar's whole character was, my husband is behind my back. I'm gonna fuck Ted. And I'm gonna walk into the pool and kill myself. It's not that interesting.
No. She wasn't.
She's just annoying on all. Like, even fucking bloody Walter Jr. got annoying at certain points. Like, he had his, like, good moments. Like, when he was, like, telling his fucking... What was it? It was, like... I think my favourite Walter moment is when he just says, why don't you just fucking die already? And Walter was just like, bruh.
I know.
Bruh.
I was thinking about him, but it's gotta be Skylar.
Yeah.
Gotta be Skylar. Have you got one more then?
Fucking, they're not singular. They're definitely plural with this character. The Minions. And I just gotta say, fuck Illumination for ever including them in fucking Despicable Me. Despicable Me is a good movie. I like that movie. It's got some funny moments, some good themes. Generally okay, not like the best thing that they've ever done, or the best thing that animation's ever done. But the Minions, the minute that children and folk grabbed onto them, Illumination, the company, were just like, more. And then you've got the Minions movie that came out. There's gonna be Minions 2. They're just so annoying. There's like, what's funny about them apart from every so often saying banana? Nothing. Facebook mods use them as memes. You know they're bad. It's just, oh, they do my head in. I actually do my head in.
Same. I despise them as well. If you didn't mention them, I would have.
Yeah.
Straight up. Nah.
And like the only I've seen quite a few animated movies do it as well. They try to make like a group of side characters that are supposed to be like grab-ons for like people to be like, yeah, that's good. They're like supposed to be minions. And the closest I've come to liking a group of folk that are like that are from the movies Freebirds. And I've watched it and I'm not really a fan of the movie, but it's the folks that are in the hazmat suits and the way they speak to each other is really funny. But yeah, those sort of stereotypes, like minion stereotypes, are just the worst, and minions themselves should just not taken such popularity. That wraps me up for my most hated characters. It's a really tough list for me to make.
I think my last one is going to be from Transformers. Specifically speaking, like the last two ones they made. Transformers 4, I can't remember the name of them. Was it Age of Extinction?
It was Age of Extinction and The Last Night.
The Last Night. Yeah, those two. From those two. And it's I don't know how you say his name. I can't remember how you say his name. He's been
Cade
ages since.
Yeager.
It's Cade Yeager.
I watched a few videos on those films recently, and
right. So you heard the pronunciation.
yeah.
Cade Yeager, anyway. And he's the cunt played by Mark Wahlberg, isn't it?
Mhm.
And it's a bit controversial in terms of all of these live action Transformers films. But from the original trilogy that they did, where it had
Shia
LaBeouf, I really enjoyed that family.
Yeah.
The Witwickies, was it?
Yes.
I generally I generally enjoyed them, and I thought they were great. Both Sam and his parents. Like, you remember the scene where his ma takes the brownie
brownies
from some guy. Oh my god! Yeah, they're humorous. They're very humorous in the way they go about things. I generally enjoyed them.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Transformers 4 and 5, when they introduced this new family, right? Although it's Cade Yeager and his daughter,
which she doesn't even return in the fifth film.
I think he had a mate as well. I think he had a mate that was there, and
it was the daughter's boyfriend, which had a very paedophilic undertones.
Well, there was him, but there was also his mate, wasn't there? Like one of Cade's friends.
From what I remember from watching the video, there's a side character that appears in that film but doesn't return in the next one. There's T.J. Miller, I think, was in that film, and he got obliterated.
But because Cade was like this dad who just didn't like what his daughter did at all. But at the same time, he was also quite he was trying to build stuff, wasn't he? He was trying to make inventions or stuff like that.
From what I watched, is he's a self-proclaimed inventor.
Yeah.
And the things of which were noteworthy invented was a trash can that would give you beer and would go around the room. So basically, it was just a beer Roomba. And he was trying to be like, I work on important stuff. He's literally in debt. One of his first character scenes we get to see him as is chasing after the realtor, coming to show a family the house, going after them with a baseball bat. So he's not a good person. He's in debt.
No.
He's trying to fall back on something he's not good at. It's just weird.
Yeah. But, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, and then in the sequel, he apparently has skill. None of the things he works on in the previous film work or that good. But then suddenly in the second film, a year or two later in the story, he's some sort of transformer rebuilder, and he can work on Cybertronian stuff. And I'm like, if he could barely make a bloody beer Roomba that can work, and a robot that can paint, it couldn't even paint properly. How the fuck is he supposed to believe as an audience that he's good at rebuilding and helping folk repair Cybertronian tools?
I know.
It's just, you don't know.
I didn't like him at all.
He was obnoxious fucking klutz.
Obnoxious. The way he acted, it was terrible.
The only time he is justified in the movie about his oh, you should be dating my daughter, is when he says, wait, you're 21 or you're 20, my daughter's 17. Or, I can't remember what age she was. She was 17, 15, or 16, one of the three ages. Which is all wrong, kinds of wrong in the USA. USA. And the guy brings out a card, says, well, in this state, blah, 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 is actually legal. And you look at the card, it's a zoom in on the card, and it explains this. But it turns out the actual legislation for it is false. And in fact, in the movie, that guy's a legal pedophile. He's a pedophile. He's legally classed as a pedophile. They're not.
Those damn films, man.
And then, what they do with the film, the further that guy's in it, He goes from being like this cool guy that saves Cade and the daughter by like drifting in with his car and stopping the FBI blokes to just becoming a coward more throughout the film. And it's just like, does Michael Bay even know how to write characters? No, I don't think he does. I think he knows how to introduce very young people with ass shots and fucking flares.
I've set you off.
You have set me off.
Set you off on Michael Bay and the Transformers films.
Yes.
So
Just Shia LaBeouf.
Oh.
It's the only likable human character. Even then,
I remember when I was watching it. I think it was the first one. There was a scene when they were fighting and that in the city, and fucking your man Cade had like one of those weapons, one of those Cybertronian weapons.
Yeah.
So he was like in cover, firing it and whatnot to try to help. And I remember it was like doing scenes of all these Transformers fighting.
Yeah.
Like, proper fight scenes, and then it just cuts to Cade firing. I think it was firing. No, I think it just cuts to fade, and it's like it slightly like pans a bit. It's just him being like, yeah, and then it cuts back, and I'm like, what the fuck was the point in that scene?
Literally, like you see Optimus fighting somebody like really quickly, and it cuts to Cade like nodding as if he's like he understands what's happening. No, you don't. You just fucking came into contact with these things hours prior. Why are you nodding as if like, yeah, this is an Autobot fighting? It's like, no, this looks stupid. Obnoxious cunt. He has no clue what's happening. And then in the next film, they give him a fucking like wee weird artifact that turns into a sword that apparently gives him enough power to stand against another gigantic transformer with a sword hitting his sword. That makes no sense. Fuck Cade. Just have your man. Oh, I can't remember his name, but the guy who was in the FBI in the first film just became more of a conspiracy theorist throughout the second and the third film. He's a baller. Fitzsimmons. It's Fitzsimmons, I think his name was.
Simmons, yeah.
Or is it just it's just Simmons, isn't it? Don't know if it's Fitzsimmons. But aye, that's just Cade. How dare you have half my fucking first name? I'd have a sick ass second name, but be a shit character.
Oh, I know. Let's move away from this.
Yeah.
Let's move away from this and go into our last discussion, which is things you wish you could get into.
Yes.
I think you've started us off in every topic today.
I have.
So why don't you start us off again for this last one?
How about no?
Okay,
I'm joking. I'll start off with music. It's something I've never been into, but I feel like I wish I was into it because I feel like it's a medium that everybody really enjoys. And generally, there are songs I like, and there'll be genres I like from certain songs, but only for that song that I like that genre in that one instance. And you have experienced this thing where like, oh, Caden likes this song. I want to show him another song that's really like it, really similar. You show it to me, and I just say, nah, that's shite. And you just like face palm, and you're like, what is this? What's this taste? It makes no sense. And then I something I've learned is like generally songs I like have to be in another medium. So like I'll watch a music video, I'll like the video of it, so the music that's with it will be connected to that video I like. Hence why I like that music. Or it'll be a song in a show or something that I'll like because it has good connotations with that scene.
Yeah.
I don't think I've apart from like a lot of metal music that I see in my Discover Weekly and shit like that. I generally just pick up random ass songs from genres I'm not really a fan of simply because of the connections they have to other things, and it makes me think, I wonder what music would have really been like if I was into it.
Yeah,
maybe at a younger
properly
age.
into it.
Properly into it.
See, trying to guess a song that you might like is like trying to guess the expression on Holt's face. You can't do it.
You can't. Trying to find a needle in the haystack.
Aye, I know. I've done it many times. I've picked out a song. I'm like, right, try this. But
Oh.
I'm
You'll
quite heavy into my
personally edit
music.
an AMV video, and you'll you'll like put a song, and you'll have like the video scenes like go perfectly in sync with the song, and I'll like the song only because the video is cool.
Yeah,
That's how you'll get me to do it.
fuck's sake. I have to look out for the music videos.
Saying that there has been music videos where there was a Imagine Dragons song that I discovered, and it was
Mm-hmm.
Believer. And
Oh
the
yeah.
way the guy edited the video into the song and the way it goes along with the beat made me discover that song, and I actually quite liked the song Believer by
Yeah.
Imagine Dragons.
Aye. So that's a good song, popular one.
I didn't know it was popular. I thought their most popular one would have been just Radioactive.
Yeah, that one too.
But
Well, especially that one.
that's music for me. It's just something that I can't get into, really, just by itself.
Yeah. Uh, First one I'm going to mention is, I guess, a range of sports. So in terms of like watching, right, one that I've never been able to get into, despite I like the sport, is basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I used to play a wee bit of it back in school, just for a bit of PE and whatnot,
Yeah.
um, or just even having like throwabouts outside because you get courts here and there. So I did really enjoy it. But in terms of watching, I don't know. There's something about it that I don't get hooked into it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I don't have a team or anything like that, and it's I think because it's in America as well. Like most of the big teams, the big players, LeBron James, whatnot. You know, um, I think a lot of their games are quite late.
Mm.
So if I wanted to watch them, I'd have to stay up quite late to watch them.
Yeah.
And to do that and just to try and get into it, you know what I mean? It's not great. That's one thing I wish I could get into because I do enjoy the sport. But in terms of playing wise, I wish I could get in football, like actually playing out, like just doing training or being in a team even. Although it's very hard, especially to like work your way up the ladder and get into like a big team. It's obviously very hard, but I'm more talking just as like a hobby, just a bit of fun.
Mm.
Again, I've also got to be very careful because I obviously broke my ankle, and there's metal plates in it.
Yeah.
So I obviously really do not want to re-injure that ankle whatsoever. So a lot of things I'll tend to do, uh, anything like physical, I've got to be alert in case, I don't want to be too, I don't want to be too complacent and just break it again. It's the same way with
Yeah.
skateboarding. Because I used to skateboard back in the day. Go to the
Yeah.
skate
You did.
park, cat about.
Uh,
And I would love to get back into it. And most of the time I would stop because of like weather and whatnot. Because
mm-hmm.
you need a good day to go out and do it.
Yeah.
So obviously since the ankle break, I don't want to go back out and do that. So it really does require feet work.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of fear in that.
I used to be the same with sports for boxing. Like when I was like
Yeah.
18, or just early 19. But then it was sort of the same dealio with music, where the connotation I had with reading this graphic novel about boxing, it's a fair
Mm-hmm.
chunk, it's really long, it's been out since the 80s. Right, I caught up to it and I was just like, you know what? Let's just watch some real boxing. And when I was watching it, I could understand it better than before reading the said fictional piece, because
Mm-hmm.
there's things in it would teach me, like clinching, jabs, how breathing is really important, and all that sort of stuff. And being able to analyze boxing fights is way better than just actually watching it for me.
Yeah, definitely.
That's me for Marks, in which is we're gonna be watching the Bois fight this
Yes, we
Saturday.
will be. We'll be watching the Dubois fight. That looks like a good card.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that. But aye.
Let's move on to my next one.
Yes. Tell me.
Really simple one, and it's just beef. So when I was younger, I was always a picky eater, and now it's not so much I'm picky. I've just found foods that I do like. And there's just certain foods I can't eat, like a lot of meat. Basically beef. It's like when I was younger, I always thought pizza looked good in like TV shows or like cartoons and that, but I couldn't
Oh, they
really
make
eat
it
it.
look really good, don't
But then I found my own way of getting a pizza with the toppings I want on it, and it was good. I really liked it.
Mhm.
And then there's still that one bloody food that always looks great in cartoons and animated media, and it's a bloody burger, bloody beef burger, like Krabby
they? Aye.
Patties and sort of like that stuff. And you're watching folks eat it, and you're just
One of
like,
the main meats.
and I'm just like, that looks really good, and people always love eating it, and I'm like,
Oh yeah,
I really wish I could enjoy it, but I don't like the taste, texture, and I've noticed that beef a lot of the time that I have had it in the past has a lot of like rubbery and crunchy bits, and maybe it's just my luck. I have the worst luck when it comes to things, but whenever I eat beef, there's always that one like really rubbery bit, and it just stops me mid eating. That's why I always just stick with like chicken burgers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So as I was saying, it's just a fairly simple one.
Aye. I was thinking about foods. If there's any foods I like to get into, but to be honest, I think all the stuff I do dislike, I'm glad I dislike. To be honest.
Pretty sure the things you dislike are the things I like.
Aye. There's a bit of opposites with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you mentioned music, and obviously I'm one for music. I'm like heavy into it. But I've always wanted to get into both a saxophone, actually. I've wanted to play the saxophone a wee bit, but more so drumming. I've always really wanted to play drums, but it's a lot harder considering you need the space for a whole drum kit, right? And it's very loud. It's not an easy like with guitar. You don't need to plug it in. You can just play it nice and easy.
All
Nice and
percussion.
quiet. Yeah, but with the drums, it's very loud if you want to play it properly. So you got to be careful with like neighbors and whatnot.
Yeah,
and it's pricey as well. If you want to get good good parts, if you'll get really good cymbals, a good bass drum, good kick, or like even a double kick pedal, you'll get a good setup. It's gonna cost you a fucking bomb.
Probably best that I didn't get into drumming then. That's something I want to get into as well as drumming. If I were to get into an instrument, it was either drumming or a violin or piano. I learned I learned a tiny bit of piano when I was younger.
Aye, no, not so much a keyboard, but the piano.
Yeah,
like a grand piano.
not quite organ, but definitely a piano.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
But drumming. There's a lot of time I listen to tracks, and I'll focus on just the drums, like because I listen to songs on repeat as well all the time. So every time I listen to a track, I'll listen to it in a different way. So sometimes I just listen to it easily. You know what I mean? It just depends. So sometimes I will just focus on the drums. I'm like, oh, that bit is so damn good, and I'd love to learn it.
That reminds.
So it's something I'd like to get in, and I think as the years go by, I'll slowly work on getting a space and maybe getting the bits. But as for right now, it's not exactly
ideal.
Not ideal. Not something I could do.
You saying that reminds me of like you listened out for like certain things in a song. It reminds me, sort of going back to my music, listed music thing is how there was a day you asked me, it's like, oh, so when you listen to a song, what things do you normally hear first? And I'm just like,
Yeah.
What do you mean? Hence, this just furthers my music thing. I can't get into music. When I listen to a new piece of music, I just hear the whole thing. I never zone into like a specific part of the song.
No.
which shocked you, and it more so shocked me as well because I didn't know people like
You weren't aware.
specifically zoned into like, oh, I hear singing first or I hear drumming first. I just hear the
Yeah.
bloody song. It's the whole point of a song, innit? I didn't understand. I understand it now, I
Aye.
suppose, but
Aye, but it's different.
it's just not gonna happen. My last one is craftsmanship. So, the likes of woodwork, building things that I would use my hands with. I've always liked watching people make stuff and do stuff like
Yep.
that, but I've never been good with my hands at all. Like, let alone my fingers, my wee short, stubby sausage fingers. I can't. Like, I remember being in like woodwork in high school, and I could barely make that
Mm.
bloody like metal thing for your like to be like a phone case, and you dip
Mm.
it in stuff and paint it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I completely fucked that. And
Aye.
then with my IT course, I had to make a Ethernet cable, or yeah, an Ethernet cable to
Mhm.
plug in. And the job for that was, I started there, but this job for that was um I had to get all the cables in color code, and I had it like to be delicately put into the wee socket, the wee covering. Like
Mm.
I could get all the stuff ready and prepared to do that. I
Yeah.
knew exactly how this worked. I knew how you do it. I know how to explain to somebody how to do it. But
Informed.
I was never articulate with my fingers enough to be able to. It took me half an hour to even get it correctly into the sheath, whereas most other people in the
Yeah.
class did it in 10 or 5 minutes. And even when I fucking managed to finally get in, I used the crimping tool to crimp it in. I realized after I crimped it, I fucked it up and made it too long from the shielding.
Yeah.
So I went up to the lecturer and explained what happened, and he was just like, "Oh, well, I can still pass you because you understand what happened. It's just you're not too good at like making it." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah," and it's something I wish I could have been better at. But general, like anything
Aye.
using my hands, I don't like to touch things a lot of the time, which is another
Mhm.
downfall of me wanting to get into this sort of stuff. That's why MythBusters is like a really interesting show because I'm like I'd never be able to do any of this, but it's so interesting to
Yes.
watch.
Model show.
Just them being able to like
Mhm.
they're using the ballistic gel bloody heats to shoot things into it all the time just to test things was always interesting.
Aye.
But just I think I was just destined to never be able to get into craftsmanship.
There's a lot of craft that does require like precision, you know.
Yeah, and then you
And
have
I guess there's a bit of practice to it, but
yeah. It's like I could. That's the thing. It's not. It was never a case of never being able to understand how to make something or do something. It's just I didn't have the physical
yeah,
capabilities.
yeah, you know,
That finishes me off.
that's yours done. Well, I have two. I have two left, but I think well, one of them can be a bit. One of them you could relate to a bit, and it's bowling.
Yes.
Now, the thing with bowling is it's a good sport, right?
Mhm.
It's good fun, but I'm not good, and I don't know if that's down to the way I throw it or what. It most likely is, you know, there'll have to be a bit of a technique with it, you know.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I'm good at doing, and a lot of the time I find it where if I'm bad at something, I'm not gonna keep wanting to play it. You know, I'm not gonna keep wanting to do it. Um, and as well, every time I throw it, I like hurt my hand a bit.
Yep.
So whether that, like, yeah, again, it could be down to the technique, or even the bowling ball. It could be down to the weight of it, or
Yeah.
um, the size, the finger holes. But
Not
yeah,
exactly how I
it
feel.
puts me off it. It puts me off it, and a lot of times I don't go bowling because I'm just terrible at it.
Pretty sure
Hitting like gutters after gutters is just
yeah.
not fun.
Pretty sure there was a time where we still wanted to catch the crack with the boys, but we didn't want to bowl. But we still
Aye,
went just to reach to talk and stuff like that.
aye,
Like the last time I actually bowled, I still fucking hate it. I don't like bowling, even just watching it or want to get into it. I don't want to. But there was a point where I actually managed to learn how to hit the pins and
Yeah.
actually do good. I got to a point where I'm pretty sure I almost beat my brother. But I just don't want to play it because, as you said, it just hurts my fingers. Every time I let go,
Yeah.
my fingers are in pain, and I'm like, why would I want to put myself under this?
Exactly.
It's not gonna happen.
It would be cool to get into it. Like imagine getting really good at it, and you get yourself into a wee team, a wee bowling team, bowling against others, and you get your own custom ball, with your own designed weight, your own designed
Yeah.
everything, that'd be sick. But to get to that point, it'd be quite a journey of pain for me, both physically and mentally. Oh.
I forgot I could have mentioned something like pool. I want to get into pool, but I'm absolutely shit at it.
Huh.
To be fair, I haven't played a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. Pool's one that also does take practice,
Yeah.
But my last one is something that you are good at, and it's one of your strong points, and it's fighting games.
Okay.
I would say I am fairly well rounded in terms of games. Like, there's a lot of different types of games I'm decent at. I'm not like world class or fucking any of that fish. But I can hold my own on a lot of different types of games. Racing games, shooting games.
Yeah.
Take your pick. But fighting games is the one. I don't know what it
Achilles
is.
heel.
I'm terrible. It's my Achilles heel, my weak point, and I can kind of understand like what you're meant to do in that, but when I'm in the middle of playing it, my head goes mush. The head goes mush, and I'm like, let me just press buttons.
Button masher is boring.
But a bit of button mashing and just thingy. But there's the odd games that I've slightly picked up, right?
Yeah.
So for example, Smash,
Yeah.
Smash popular series. I got into that a wee bit. What else? For Honor.
Oh, aye.
We played that. We played that when it first came out. There is what else? I'm trying to think. There's another one. The UFC games.
Oh, aye. I've played it.
I've got EA access, so I was playing a bit of UFC. But even then, like when I'm playing, I'm not good. I'm not that good. So again, because of what I was saying with the bowling, because I'm not that good, it doesn't make me want to keep playing.
Yeah.
I just get put off it.
I think until about I was 13, I
Stick to my strengths.
was ass at fighting games until I was about 13, and just suddenly something clicked. Like specifically there's these games, the Ninja Storm games. I think on one of the games I was like in the top 1,000 players in the world, something like that. And I just think that was one of the games that was really easy for me to win at, and I knew all the mechanics in the game, apart from some of the glitches, because I didn't like exploiting glitches, because only like bad players exploit those. But in terms of fighting games, any fighting games that I've played, I've learned mechanics of, and it's almost like a psychological thing with players. Is much like boxers. These fighting game players will get into this for combos and how they fight against players. They'll remember things, so it's a lot of like muscle memory with combos and that. I've never been too great for muscle memories and combos unless I really was dedicated to learn it. And what I would do is I was really good at it. I'm a really well-rounded player, and I will mess with a player with my pattern in the middle of a match, and it will throw them way off, and I end up winning because of that. But like in the Storm game, there is no like proper combos or that. I just win from reactionary standpoints and knowing when to sub and knowing what to use. That sort of stuff. But with combo games like Dragon Ball Fighters and all that, I can learn some combos, but the biggest point is just to confuse your opponent if they're slightly using more OP characters or they're expecting stuff from you. It really messes with them.
Yeah.
Well, I think that brings us to an end.
It does. That's everything discussed about for this episode.
It has, aye. So,
Thank you for tuning in.
thank you very much for listening to our bumbling selves. And I'll say goodbye and can't wait to chat shite next week.
Bye.